July 5th, 2026, Brazil were knocked out of a World Cup by Norway, a country that hadn't qualified since 1998, and somehow it didn't feel as shocking as it should have. France, Holland, Germany, Belgium, Croatia, and now Norway. Every Brazilian World Cup since 2002 has ended against a European opposition. At some point, this stops being a bad tournament. It becomes a pattern. Because Brazil haven't just stopped winning World Cups. Somewhere along the way, they've stopped feeling like Brazil. Now, quarterfinal, 7-1, quarterfinal, round of 16. 6 World Cups, 0 finals, and 1 semi-final. For a country like Croatia, that's considered a golden generation. But for Brazil, it's a national crisis. Because this is Brazil. 5 stars on their shirt. Pele, Garrincha, Ronaldinho, Kaká, Roberto Carlos. In 2002, Brazil arrived with Ronaldo, Rivaldo and Ronaldinho in the same attack, the 3 Rs. Imagine seeing that team sheet. You're already 1-0 down psychologically. Brazil didn't just have great players, they had presence. You weren't only just trying to compete with them, you were trying not to get embarrassed. And that's what feels different now. Brazil still produce world-class players, but it's clear they are now playing football like the rest of the world and not the audacious Jogo we all love. So, what has actually disappeared? It wasn't just skills. Brazil always had structure. They always had competent defenders. Let's not pretend that Lucio was doing rainbow flips outside his own penalty area. But Brazilian football always had freedom, risk, improvisation, or confidence to say, let me try something audacious just because they can. However, here's a caveat. Modern football now asks, where should you stand? What's the safest pass? When do you press? How do you protect the transition? However, old Brazil asks only one question: free-flowing football. And somewhere between these two versions, Brazil changed. And as a result, here's what's happening to some of their youngest stars. Europe doesn't wait for Brazilian superstars to become superstars anymore. It buys them way before they become superstars. Ronaldinho developed at Grêmio and moved to Europe at 21. Kaká developed Sao Paulo and moved to Milan at 21. Heck, even Neymar was developed at Santos and moved to Barcelona at 21. They had years of senior football in Brazil before Europe became their entire professional world. Now, Vini Jr. signed at Real Madrid at 16. Endrick, agreement in place at 16. And Esteval, agreement in place at 16. They don't necessarily move the next morning, but by 16, Europe already owns their future. And that's the question that every young Brazilian player should be answering. It used to be, how good can I become? Now, it's, am I ready for Europe? And every performance they play prior to that is becoming an audition for Europe. Brazilian football has now become less of a destination and more of a departure line. Nobody directly tells these players stop playing Brazilian football. However, it's more subtle than that. Make the safer decision, release the ball sooner, follow the tactical instruction, prepare for Europe. Can this game you play translate to European football? And eventually, the players change too. But Europe doesn't explain everything, because Brazil itself changed. As we know, some of Brazil's greatest players ever learned their football everywhere. That's the streets, concrete, sand, futsal courts, bad pitches, small spaces. No coach stopping the game every 30 seconds to reposition a cone. In these situations, nobody gives you a solution. You have to invent one. And that's where the balance comes from. The close control, the little touches, the ability to escape from a situation you wasn't even supposed to be able to exit. Modern Brazilian players are now professionally developed, better positioning, better facilities, better nutrition, better coaching, more of a structure. And for the most part, that is good. However, that institutionalization can still cost something. You can coach positioning, you can coach pressing, you can coach patterns of play, but you can't coach imagination. You can't manufacture another Ronaldinho. Ronaldinho only becomes Ronaldinho because of the environment he played football in growing up. So, maybe Brazil are better at developing footballers. However, they're worse at developing Brazilian footballers. And somehow, we never fully noticed it. Do you know why? Because Brazil still had Neymar. Neymar still feeling Brazilian. the tricks, the swagger, the completely unnecessary disrespect. Sometimes you'd even think, why did you do that? That was audacious. But that's the point. He didn't. As long as Neymar was there, Brazil still had a glimmer of hope that we were still connected to their older tradition. Somebody capable of doing things that just wasn't manufactured on a tactics board. So, maybe we didn't notice what was disappearing underneath. Brazil still had elite players around him, and Brazil still have elite players now. Vini Jr. is world class. They have top goalkeepers. Gabriel's at the back. They still had Bruno G and Casemiro. However, this is not about whether Brazil have a good player. It's about whether they can still produce artists. Can they still produce players who makes a child in London, Lagos or Tokyo immediately run outside and copy what they just saw on the TV? And look, maybe Neymar wasn't the beginning of Brazil's next great generation. Maybe he was the last superstar from their old world. But here's the thing. You can't just blame Brazil for all of this. What if Brazil simply didn't get worse? What about if everyone else just caught up? Brazil once had something close to a monopoly of technical brilliance. Not literally, but when you thought about flair, you thought about Brazil. However, now, Spain produced technicians for fun. France produced players with outrageous technique and ridiculous athleticism. Even England, yes England, can produce players comfortable receiving the ball under pressure. Before, the qualities that once made Brazil unusual has now went mainstream. And at the same time, football has now become more organised. As I said previously, the pressing, compactness, positional play, less space, less time, less room for a player to say, give me the ball and I'll sort this out. Brazil tried to adapt, they had to, but they became caught between two identities, less freedom than the old Brazil and not enough structure to dominate like the best modern teams. So as the world became more Brazilian, Brazil became more ordinary, and nothing represents an identity crisis better than the man they called to fix it. Don Carlo, one of the greatest managers ever, calm, adaptable, respected by superstars. And it wasn't a stupid appointment, but think about what it represented. The country with the most famous footballing identity on earth looked outside Brazil to rediscover it. Carlo could change the formation, he could organise a press, he could manage the dressing room, but again, you can't draw Jogo Bonito on a tactics board. Brazil weren't just searching for a manager, they were searching for themselves, and one manager was never going to solve that overnight.